Hey everybody, Kevin Schulteis here for No, it is July 4th, 2020. Happy Independence Day. Hopefully not anything crazy, too much craziness happens. There could be a lot of craziness today. I guess we will see what happens in the news and see what happens throughout the day. I haven't caught anything yet, but it's kind of early here. It's only noon on the east coast in Atlantic time, so there's still a few other time zones as the rest of the continent's kind of getting woken up for the rest of the day. And I just ended up in my kind of morning perusal of news from left to right wing and everything in between, hopefully, and craziness. Came across, I'm going to have to really look at this. Looks like, I don't know, some kind of new whistleblower has emerged from Facebook or something, or a company that works for Facebook, and a censor. And I just finished watching this 15-minute discussion on this well-articulated company that filters all kinds of discussions and deletes posts and censors posts for Facebook, which is amazing because he actually, go watch it. It's on the Rebel News channel there, and it just happened, which is quite amazing because like he even brought up, he says this one fellow does about 200 posts a day that he looks at, about approximately 2 minutes each or whatever. So 8 hours a day. 8 times 60. No, 8 times 60 minutes, 480 minutes. Yeah, so like he's roughly going through 200 posts a day. He said about 1,000 a week. And he said at his company there's about 1,500 employees. So 1,500 employees, right? Times 1,000. So you're looking at about 1.5 million posts, memes, videos, audio, text, headlines that are being kept on the platform or deleted by this one particular company. I guess of about maybe 1,500 employees, of which that's not even Facebook. There could be multiple companies. And they were going through different examples of, literally, he was going through different examples of how you could attack the right and make a ton of right-looking things that make any right-sided people look stupid or attacked or vulnerable, or they say dumb stuff or whatever. All of those things could stay on Facebook, but anything even close to potentially like left-leaning, anything that might even bring attention to newsworthy items or anything that might be considered, and he listed a bunch of stuff as examples that Facebook labels as hate speech. Like that's pretty darn intense. Hate speech is a step up in my understanding in terms of legal terms. There's there's defamatory issues, but it's kind of like you can have a crime, and if it's a terrorist crime, it's like frick. If you get labeled as a terrorist act, then that crime is like times 4 punishment. Like it's way worse. Same thing with speech. You can have kind of defamatory type speech or lies or whatever, liable probably, things like that. But then if it's labeled hate, hate is a very general word and stuff and can be overused as well. But Facebook labels a huge amount of these simple little nuanced things where 10 different people could look at the same picture, same joke, same caricature, same whatever, commentary, and there'd probably be the whole spectrum of to burn it to like, yeah, right on, brother, sister, like whatever. And like yet Facebook labels it all hate speech, and then these guys are audited to make sure they take it down. And he was saying out of 200 a day he does, maybe about 50 of his get audited, so maybe 25% roughly get audited. So $1.5 million a week, times 4 weeks, $6 million a month just from one company. And maybe, $1.5 million might get audited or something. Maybe not. Those numbers seem crazy that many are getting filtered. And he was talking about direct interference with the Canadian. Like, this is Facebook. So not only is Facebook protecting people from information and their elections, they are literally controlling every election across the globe. And he went into examples on that, which is like, we knew this is happening, but for a guy to actually come out as, I don't know what this fellow is on the right here. I don't know if he's like this guy here. I don't know if he's, I have to research him and look if there's way more details. Like, hopefully this conversation is a long interview, and Ezra, this fellow here, interviews him a lot more. And then I guess he's done a bunch of interviews with other, I think he just said he did a interview on Spanish TV yesterday because he's fluent Spanish, and they were freaking out. So this is going to be interesting. This is kind of like the first time I've heard anything close to official that, Facebook does this. We all kind of knew that, the big guys were left-leaning and would filter things. And there's what they call shadow banning, which means you might not be overtly blocked, or your channel might not be deleted, or your post might not be removed, but if the algorithm, and I brought this up in yesterday's video, the AI is going to literally, first of all, AI, just by AI itself, is going to be pretty destructive to human nature in terms of almost generating more extreme and polarized events. And the AI is not designed to, per se, give you a cross-section of opinions, because it kind of can't. I don't see how it can. But AI is designed so that it literally keeps feeding you stuff so that you keep watching more and more and listening to more and more and interacting more and more. So therefore, if you like something, it's going to assume you're going to like more of it, so it just keeps feeding you more of that whatever topic. So if you even click on something, it's going to lead you down some rabbit holes, so it kind of radicalizes you more and more and more of hearing what your one opinion. It's just going to keep reinforcing it, whether left or right. But at the same time, we also know that right types of thought, more conservative types of thoughts, are definitely being whitewashed and eliminated and suppressed. So that's very interesting in itself. All the way from not just demonetizing, say like YouTube, instead of like YouTube paying out money for advertisers and content creators, say like myself or somebody. If you put out content, you get a little bit of ad revenue. You times it by like 1 million views or whatever. Hey, okay, that's $1,000. Pays for, a little bit of operations and things like that. You can, slowly creators do it from a hobby, and then they can make the jump to a career. But then when you get into bigger operations and you're putting out great content, great production values, and your videos start getting demonetized, and you're putting videos out and YouTube AI flags it, and you don't get any money. So here you are spending thousands and thousands of dollars, and you're doing it for free at that point because YouTube was paying you, and then now they, for a variety of reasons, they demonetize you. What incentive does people have to put out information, good, bad, or indifferent? People do do that out of the goodness of their hearts, but it costs time, energy, and money. And it's in some ways, if you can monetize that, and then that's fine. More people are incentivized to do that and put out good information. If you don't monetize, if they're doing that and then they take their monetization away, what incentive do they have to continue putting out information? If you never paid a journalist or newspaper or anything any money, what's the chances for the next 5, 10, 20 years that they're going to put out good content? They're not. Papers and stuff, yes, the medium is dying and it's a new world, but it's sad. We're losing good, small, independent papers all across the world because the monetization models kind of don't work anymore. The advertising money is going different places, as it kind of in some ways should and shouldn't. There's always going to be, you could always make the argument that papers are old school and people don't read them, and there is a huge amount of that, but at the same time you lose the monetization and you lose that journalism forever. So that's interesting. So this is a mind-blowing event. This is pretty crazy. I'm going to enjoy looking at what this is all about over the next few weeks and days. I'm going to have to research this guy. At first, I'm like, oh, what is this, a lawyer? Or did some kind of something get uncovered? I don't know. It seems to me like this fellow on the right is just some guy probably saw too much, almost like a Snowden, where he just saw way too much corruption, way too much power, way too much abuse, way too much scary behind-the-scenes, nuanced actions that are skewing our world, and then he had enough personal conviction to maybe quit his job and literally spill all the beans. I don't know if he's going to be legally under trouble, or if he's got protections, or if he's allowed to say what he's allowed to say. Who knows? Either way, it sounds like he's not just some crackpot just shooting stuff out. He's like literally got detailed notes. Probably much like a Snowden. I wonder how much information he's kept, and examples, and I wouldn't doubt if in the next little while it's going to spawn all kinds of companies and governments going to probe him and say, what about this? What about this? Come on board as an expert witness. So pretty interesting, guys. So this is now starting to come out as official proof that Facebook meddles in our elections across the world. They literally remove categorically a huge amount of conservative type thoughts and criticisms. If he was bringing up like, oh man, if a right type thinking criticizes a policy on the left and it's got X amount of like, oh, if it has a picture of this, or it has this, or it has this feeling to it, remove it. And yet if the opposite is true, probably leave it on. So that's very interesting. Yeah, so anyways, we live in trying times, guys. So this is my video for the day. Won't make it too long, and we'll go from there. So here's another video from Kevin Schulteis, July 4th. Hopefully have a great Independence Day. We are losing our independence all across Canada and U.S. and the world. This whole coronavirus pandemic has created an unprecedented worldwide event, power grab, money grab, worldwide changes in government policies, checks and balances went out the window. This is a massive shift to force, as Oliver DeMille would say. This is the actual opposite. We are literally living in a time when our freedom is literally tanking. We can see it within the last few months. It's one thing when you lose freedom over years and years and years, and your water supply, if your fish is slowly being poisoned or died or something. That's one thing. We literally have seen massive, but that you can only do so much gradually. Every once in a while, it's like a tectonic shift. There is enough pressure once in a while when plates are butted against each other, and it builds, and then there's a shift, and it has to jump, and either the jump will be kind of to the positive or to the negative, and right now it's definitely to the negative. And we also have to, like, it's a wake-up call. We're seeing it happen because we all notice this jump. Sometimes we don't notice the gradual changes. But at the same time, it's also a test where it's like, hey, if we let this go, well, then we can take it further and take it further and take it further until there's enough blowback. And it was kind of neat seeing a couple of Canadian protests. Canada doesn't protest or march for freedom too often. Very few people do. Most of the conservative right does very little. It's a pretty quiet majority in Canada, just the way our culture is. It's not really trained into us much to be very vocal. We're pretty polite and don't say much. Americans, on the other hand, are a lot more vocal. And then, heck, seems like Europe and other Asian countries and stuff like that are, seem way ahead on protests and making marches and stances for things. U.S. is coming along a long way in terms of doing a lot more, and Canada is way behind on protests. But it was kind of neat seeing a couple of Canadian marches for freedom or something, wake-up calls, but definitely far and few between. Okay, guys. Hopefully I don't get demonetized in the future. Hopefully I can change things for the future, for the better. Continue running in future elections. I would love to see my articulation of this whole police problem. It's not so much defund the police, is wake up Canadians to be better citizens. We all got to read good books. We all got to learn our history. We all got to learn history in general. We got to learn about other places, other countries, so we don't repeat bad history, avoid bad problems and bad choices. Also see the writing on the wall when we're in the middle of something. Gives us a sense of what potentially is in the future, slippery slopes and whatnot, because history does repeat itself. We're not all in a bubble. Statistics and logic and other stuff has a lot of you do this and it leads to this, it leads to this, it leads to this. You need people to actively make strong, courageous choices for the tides to turn. So hopefully Canada can wake up to some of these things. But what I was saying was I'd love to fix our police, but it's not what people are thinking it needs to fix. Like, I would love nice, super simple bill, pass a bill that police cannot lie. They're just legally not allowed to lie. If somebody asks them about a law and the cop says something, it better be correct. We should be able to trust our police. If it comes out of the police's mouth and they were legally not allowed to lie, well then, we could trust that. But they are legally allowed to lie, so you can therefore trust zero out of a police's mouth. They are legally allowed to say whatever they want to you. And also not even necessarily, even with immunity and stuff like that, not even be financially or legally even liable for the crap that they do. You can sue cops for being wrong and doing wrong things, and, the city takes, the taxpayer or the local town, us as the taxpayer, foots the bill for the police doing stupid and corrupt things and lying and cheating and just being misinformed, being ignorant, and they're ignorant on purpose, and then they're liars, and a lot of time, whether it's ignorance on purpose or not, we pay the price. So police does need better education on our laws and on our things, but they also have to have liability on if you lie. First of all, don't lie. You're not allowed to lie no more. Take that ability away from the cops. Stop lying. That would be my bill. Nice and simple. Police have to tell the truth. they'd be legally, maybe if they don't want to say something, they don't say something. And if they cannot tell the truth, well, then you side on the side of the person and you give the benefit of the doubt, and you don't arrest, you arrest less people, you escalate less. But if you have the ability to lie, police are allowed to escalate to whatever degree, to keep escalating situations, and they have all the ability to lie. Not in my Canada, but unfortunately, Canadian police are allowed to lie, to us citizens, which is a little unfortunate. Gives them no incentive to be held accountable. Police have no accountability if they're allowed to get away with tons of stuff. There's enough loopholes already, but I would love to be able to take away one loophole at a time and just say, hey, tell the truth. Tell the truth. That would be awesome. They have to tell the truth, my understanding, to a judge. But my understanding is they don't have to say a single thing that's truthful to any of us citizens, which is crazy. Okay, guys, that's enough for now, and so that'd be a policy that I would love to put into place. Okay, crazy stuff. Let's see how we wrap up 4th of July. So happy Independence Day, guys. Let's keep it that way. Or let's fight for more. Let's fight for our freedom to get it back, because we have lost so much freedom, and we never even had that much to begin with. Even Canadian history, even the formation of the Canadian government. We just had our Canada Day / Dominion Day a few days ago, July 1st as well. Even the formation of our government, the U.S. government was in. It's not perfect, and there was, tons of debate for many, many months, if not years, on the type of government that the U.S. held. But they did. It's an amazing piece of government that prospered the country for hundreds of years, because there's so many good checks and balances. Not perfect. They definitely missed the boat on a few things, including slavery and stuff like that. But there were so many checks and balances in there that it's become probably outside and next to almost biblical type government, which is humanly kind of not possible this side of heaven anyways. Outside of that, it's probably the next best type of government. But Canada had the choice, and a bunch of countries had the choice to mirror their governments. When Canada was forming, we could have mirrored, and we had the ability to pick our style of government. There's definitely leanings toward picking that style. Same with Britain. And the world was watching it, how interesting of a government it was, and to mirror it in some of their adoptions. And then the U.S. had the Civil War, and that kind of put a black mark on, like, oh my goodness, they're in the middle of a civil war, maybe their government isn't that good. So put a stop on everything. So Canada picked a very Britain kept its government the way it was, and Canada, of course, mirrored Britain's government, being more central government focused, less checks and balances than the U.S. has. So we've always had less freedom than our U.S. brothers and sisters to the south. Less checks and balances, less things protecting the people, protecting rights. We've had way less freedom, and it's just not built into. And what freedoms and charters and rights that we have, very few Canadians even know them, nor practice them, nor exercise them, nor defend them. Just because most don't even know what they have, so therefore they don't know what they're losing. So let's keep our independence, guys, and fight for more, and fight for freedom.